Hey everybody, and welcome to Q&A Wednesday, where I answer the questions that all of my clients have been recently asking. Now that's predominantly what it is. So it's been a crazy week. I apologize that I didn't do Q&A Wednesday last week. If you notice, I no longer have my cute little Monroe in. My body decided that it didn't like the piercing, and after 6 years of no problems, it went, yeah, we're not gonna keep this anymore, and it got infected, and I had to have it cut out, and I looked a little bit ridiculous last week. So I apologize that I didn't actually do. Let's see if I can adjust this. It's all hooked up. There we go. So back to normal. So we should be good from here until Thanksgiving. But I have a really great topic. Actually, this came from somebody, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. Had somebody ask, how do you get back into exercise and working out when you've taken an extended break? Now that extended break may be for various reasons. Maybe you've been ill, or an injury, or, it could just be you've been on vacation, or you have guests in town and it's just been a little while, whatever it is. I get a lot of people that come back thinking, it's been a couple of years, how should I approach getting back into the gym? Is that something that, is important? Should I just jump in? What should I do? So we're going to talk about that and approach that just a little bit. And obviously it depends on how long the break has been, but no matter what the break has been, you do need to back up just a little bit. So we're going to talk about that because I think recently, like not last week, but the week before, we talked about whether or not you should be working out if you are sick. So if you didn't watch that one and that's something that you need to be, of course, this time of year, man, everybody's getting sick. You might want to jump back and watch that video. Now, you know that if you aren't able to catch the videos, I do post them when I'm done. I also upload them to my YouTube channel. So even if you missed something, or if you missed Meals with Melissa and you wanted to check out one of the recipes that we did, you can hop on there and you can check that out. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what does it take when you get back into the gym. So, one of the things is it really honestly depends on how long it's been since you've been at the gym. If it's been a week or so, it's not a big deal. As a matter of fact, it's good to take a break from the gym and from exercising once in a while, especially if you are lifting and you are lifting heavy and maybe you've plateaued. You might need to have a break. We actually call that had that muscle, especially if you've had that for any extended amount of time. Your body actually, even if you lose it, you tend to get that muscle back in about a third of the time that it took to actually create the muscle the first time around. So if it took you a year to build the current muscle that you've had, and then you take an extended break and you lose the majority of that muscle, it should take about a third of that year, or a third of a year, in order to build it back. Now, the longer that you've had the muscle, the more likely that is, because then you have matured muscle, and matured muscle is a little more dense and tends to be retained a little bit better than newer muscle. So keep that in mind as well. There's a little bit of variables that happen there. So fortunately, even if it's been an extended amount of time, your body actually knows what to do. It goes, oh, you're putting a new demand on that. Cool, some volume. Let's build that muscle again. So keep in mind that it tends to be a little bit easier the next time around when you go to build that muscle back. But one of the biggest things you have to remember is, even if it's only been a few weeks, or let's just say you've had surgery. I have that happen a lot. Clients, for whatever reason, I've had a client recently have appendicitis and have to have her appendix out. I have a client that's going to have knee surgery here soon. So again, your doctor has told you to take a break, and that is important. Do what your doctor tells you to do. But when you get back to lifting again, you can't just start up where you left off, right? You're thinking, well, I was benching 220, so I should be able to start there. No, especially the longer it's been, you just can't jump in where you left off. You do have to back up and make sure that your body is ready for the amount of volume or the amount of overload that you're going to put on your body in order to not injure yourself. So, it's okay to back up and drop the weight a little bit. Make sure that you can push that. Make sure your form is good, because form and quality of your lift over anything, there's absolutely zero benefit to strength training or to doing your workouts if you're doing them incorrectly, and you're more likely to injure yourself. So keep that in mind. I just feel like I'm so dark in here. I don't love the fact that it gets dark at 4:30 right now. It just makes me feel like I really wish summer was back. So hence the reason I got my little ring light on behind here. So don't think you can start out where you left off. You're gonna have to back up a little bit and build back up to where you were. And if you're coming back from an injury, you're gonna have to be exceptionally aware of your body's response to that, especially if you are trying to rehabilitate. You don't want to exacerbate the issue or go back to where you've injured yourself again. So that's super important. The other thing to think about is maybe you've taken a break because of your motivation or a lack of motivation thereof. We've talked a little bit about why your motivation wanes. We have a cycle. We all do, including myself included, right? In the beginning, it's like, yeah, I've got a goal. It's awesome. And you're excited about it and you're happy. And then at some point you realize, wow, this is taking a little more than I thought it would. It takes a little longer to do. I'm not seeing the results as fast as I think it would. And so we tend to kind of hit downward in the motivation, but that is normal. So realize you have to have a really big why as to why you're coming back to the gym, why you're getting back into it, because you have to stay motivated. They talk about that determination is continuing, or discipline is continuing to do the activity long after the mood has left you. And that really is probably one of the hardest parts about reaching your goals when it comes to health, is that we all lose motivation to some degree, and we have to have a big enough why that we're able to keep going even when we don't feel like it. So also, one of the best things I ever came up with was that your goal has to be bigger than your obstacles. You will hit obstacles. That is a given. You know that you're going to have days where things just aren't working out. It's snowing and you can't get out of your driveway. What can I do instead? I give up. It happens. So you have to know that whatever it is that you're working for is more important than the obstacles that you're going to run to with it. Danielle says the struggle is real. Yes, it is. It is. It is for everyone. I think that people look at me and think, well, she has it all together because she's still doing it. But I'm not immune to the obstacles and the struggles that come with trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle. I just have better coping skills at this point, and I already know that when I do start to wane in motivation, I just have to pick a new goal. So I just know how that works for me. So back to now, if you have been injured, again, remember to make sure that you respect your body's limits. Even if you're not injured, but if you've had an illness, if you've been sick, you gotta allow your body that time to heal. It's okay to come back and start to lift a little bit, but make sure that you're listening and don't overdo it, right? Because overtraining can actually result in becoming ill again. So yeah, you don't really want to do that, because then it's just going to put you out for another few weeks and you're going to go backwards again. And who wants that? So, respect your body's limits, even when it comes to skill. If you're unsure of how to do a certain lift, or if you're just not as good at it, respect what your body can do for the moment. You always have to lift for the weaker muscle that is participating in the group. You have to lift for the weaker side. Just because you can do 20 pounds on the right side, if you can only do 10 on the left, you've got to stick with the 10 on both sides, because you're trying to equalize at some point. You don't want to build a mismatched body, right? Whether we're talking strength or whether we're talking size. Nobody wants to be totally unequal like that. And also make sure that you're working out for what you can do at the moment. If your former experience is with yoga, don't jump in and do a bunch of CrossFit WODs that you have never done before. You're going to be in a lot of pain. Not only that, you may not want to go back because you're going to be so sore you can't move the next day. So, it's fine if you want to do CrossFit. Just make sure you learn the skills, the form, and do it the right way. And I know that no matter what platform we're talking about, when it comes to exercise, not everybody learns the correct way. So that's really, really important. And then, before I give you my tips, make sure you're getting enough sleep. My clients know that sleep always trumps exercise. If they are not getting at least a minimum amount of sleep, I tell them they're not allowed to do cardio, or they're not allowed to strength train, because there is literally no benefit at that point to doing that, because their body isn't going to recover from it. So sleep is always, always, always more important than getting your workouts in. Now, if you are always struggling to sleep and you're never getting your workouts in, you might have to reprioritize some things in your life to make sure that both are available to you. So, tips. Okay, so here's my tips for getting back into it. Don't expect to start out where you left off. We talked about that. Pick a time-sensitive, tangible goal that you can reach. I know sometimes we think, well, by summer, I just want to be able to put on a bikini. Well, that's great, but what's the deadline, right? You don't have a specific time. You can't break it down into effort-based goals in order to reach that if you don't have a time where you have to be done by it. Personally, that's why I used to love to compete, because I had to be ready by the date of the show, because there's no choice. You're either ready or you're not. So pick something that's time sensitive. You have a deadline for it. Feed your body the right nutrition. No matter what you're doing, if you're not feeding your body enough calories, if you're eating a lot of junk and highly processed food, if you're not eating enough of the right macronutrients depending on your goals, you're not going to get where you're trying to go anyway. There's no benefit to trying to build muscle if you're not providing the ingredients and the nutrients your body needs. Make yourself accountable. That's a big one. I think even for me, it's why the coach still pays a coach. There are times where I just allow myself to get away with some things that if I am paying a coach and I have to check in, man, I'm paying somebody. I'm going to do what it takes. So if you're accountable to somebody, and sometimes that requires a monetary investment because you know that otherwise you're not going to follow through. I know that about myself. And so that is why I tend to usually have somebody that I'm answering to. If motivation is an issue, there's a few things that you can try right off the get-go. Number one, try and pick a new goal, right? Sometimes just having that excitement of, I'm working towards this, will really help you to at least get started again. Number two, you might need to pick a new gym. I have found that in my past that sometimes the atmosphere at the gym that I was going to at the time was just not as beneficial as it was when I first started going, and I've had to pick a new gym to utilize just because for whatever reason, whether I just didn't want to be around the drama that was going on or I just needed to pick a new group of people to be around, whatever it was. That's been something that has worked for me in the past. You also may need to pick a new exercise activity. So, if you're really tired of strength training, maybe you do need to add yoga to that. Now, I really think that you should still strength train because muscle's a natural fat burner, but you might need pick a new trainer. That's an option as well. Just make sure they know what they're talking about because unfortunately in the state of Washington, trainers are not legally required to be certified, which I find asinine. I just don't understand that one. But make sure you've got somebody that knows their stuff because I've seen a lot of weird, it does make a difference. So, okay. Also start with what works. If doing something specific in the past has worked for you, try that again, at least to begin with, because, it possibly, you already know that has benefited you in the past. Now, be careful with that. Even if you've done super low calorie diets before, that's not beneficial to anyone. And that long-term, that's not going to work. So be careful with that kind of thing. But if you have had a situation where that a 5-day split for your workout has worked for you, try that at first. Now, if your situation has changed and it just doesn't work for you, change it. But initially it's not a bad idea to do something that's worked for you before. And of course, no matter what you're doing, whether you've been going to the gym for years and years and years, whether you've taken a break, doesn't matter. Make sure you always do a really good warm up. Make sure you do a good cool down and make sure that you stretch when you're done because you want to stay mobile. So hopefully that helps. Of course, the best option would be to not have a big break between exercise bouts, but I know that it happens. It happens to everyone for whatever reason. So it's okay. Just find a way to get back in it. Please make sure that you leave a comment below if you have any questions, if you have an idea that worked well for you. We like to hear it because it's about real people doing real things. You may also choose to message me directly at Facebook Messenger. I do respond. Just don't be creepy. And I get my best ideas from you. So if you have a question that you would like to have answered on Q&A Wednesday, please ask. It's awesome. We love it. So until next week, that is Q&A Wednesday. You guys have an incredible night and happy holidays.